I invited my dad's girlfriend over my real mom to spend the day with me. My parents got divorced when I was 12, and for the last 3 years, every single holiday and birthday has turned into this massive guilt trip about who I choose to spend time with. My mom remarried this guy Kevin about 2 years ago, and he's honestly kind of a nightmare. He leaves dirty dishes everywhere, talks down to me like I'm 5, and makes these weird comments about how I need to man up whenever I show any emotion. Plus, he always smells like cigarettes, even though he claims he quit. My mom just stands there and lets him talk to me however he wants because she's scared he'll leave. 2. My dad started dating Ashley about 8 months ago, and she's actually really cool. She's 28, so only 12 years older than me, which was weird at first. But she doesn't try to parent me or anything. She just treats me like a normal person. When I told her I was failing chemistry, she didn't lecture me about applying myself. She just said, "Chemistry sucks. Want me to help you study?" And we spent 3 hours going over formulas while eating pizza. So, last week was my 16th birthday, and both my parents wanted me to spend it with them. My mom was planning this whole dinner at Olive Garden with Kevin and his 2 kids who are like 7 and 9 and absolutely destroy everything they touch. She kept texting me about how important family is, and how Kevin was really looking forward to celebrating with me. My dad asked if I wanted to go to this escape room place and then get burgers. He said Ashley would come too if I was cool with it. I told him that sounded way better than sitting through dinner while Kevin's kids threw breadsticks. And Kevin lectured me about college planning. When I texted my mom that I was going with dad instead, she completely lost it. She called me crying, saying I was choosing Ashley over her and that I was hurting her feelings. She said Kevin had already made reservations and bought me a present. I felt bad for like 2 seconds until I remembered that Kevin's idea of a good present last Christmas was a book about time management. The escape room was actually insane. We picked this zombie apocalypse theme, and Ashley figured out like half the puzzles before me. And my dad even knew what was happening. When we got stuck on this one riddle, she started doing this funny voice like she was a zombie, and we were all cracking up trying to think while she groaned bronze in the background. After we escaped, which took us 43 minutes, we went to this burger place that has these massive milkshakes. Ashley ordered this chocolate peanut butter one that was basically the size of my head. She let me try it, and it was incredible. We sat there for like 2 hours just talking about random stuff. She told me about this job interview she had coming up, and I told her about this girl at school. I was thinking about asking to homecoming. My dad barely said anything, but he kept smiling watching us talk. It was the first time in years that I actually enjoyed spending time with someone. My parents were dating. Ashley didn't try to give me advice about the girl or ask a million questions. She just listened and then said, "Sounds like she'd be stupid not to say yes." When I got home that night, there were 17 missed calls from my mom and like 30 texts. She was furious that I chose to spend my birthday with that woman instead of my real family. She kept saying Ashley was just trying to win me over, and that she didn't actually care about me, like my mom did. But here's the thing that really got to me. Kevin texted me separately and said I was being disrespectful to my mother, and that when I was ready to apologize and act like an adult, I could come back for leftover cake. Leftover cake from a party I didn't even go to. Like that was supposed to make me feel bad. The next day, Ashley texted me a picture of us at the escape room with zombie makeup still on our faces and wrote, "Thanks for letting me crash your birthday. That was the most fun I've had in months." She didn't have to do that. She didn't have to text me at all, honestly. But she did, and it made me feel like someone actually wanted me around, not out of obligation. Not because of guilt or some family duty, but because they genuinely liked spending time with me. I stared at the picture for a while. Both of us with ridiculous zombie makeup smudged across our faces. My dad in the back pretending to look terrified. I actually laughed and it felt good, not forced. Not guilty, just real. I didn't reply right away because I knew if my mom saw the typing bubble on my phone, she'd lose her mind even more. So I just put my phone face down and tried to sleep. Except I couldn't because every 5 minutes I kept getting these long, emotional paragraphs from my mom about how she gave up everything for me and how I was throwing away our bond for some random girl half my father's age. It was like she had decided Ashley was a villain in her personal drama, and nothing could change her mind. The next morning, I came downstairs and found my mom at the kitchen table with puffy eyes, like she'd been crying all night. Kevin was sitting across from her, arms folded like he was about to interrogate me. Great. Exactly the breakfast vibe I wanted. My mom immediately launched into the speech about how hurt she was and how she felt betrayed. I tried to explain calmly that I wasn't choosing Ashley over her. I was choosing an environment where I didn't feel judged or lectured every 5 seconds. But Kevin cut me off and said, "Your mother deserves respect. And frankly, you owe her an apology." I swear. Something snapped inside me. Maybe it was all the emotional manipulation. Maybe it was the nonstop guilt tripping. Or maybe I was just tired of being treated like a problem they needed to fix. I looked at Kevin dead on and said, "I'll apologize when you start treating me like an actual human being." The room went silent. My mom gasped like I had set the house on fire. Kevin's jaw tightened, and he started giving me this lecture about attitude and gratitude. But I didn't hear most of it. I just grabbed a granola bar and walked out of the house before I said something even worse. I ended up at this park near my school, a place I usually go when I need to clear my head. I was sitting on the swings, half processing, half spiraling, when my phone buzzed. It was Ashley. "Ashley, hey birthday boy. You okay? Your dad said things got a little rough last night." I stared at that message forever. She didn't push. She didn't demand an explanation. She just asked if I was okay. That was new. That felt safe. I told her everything, not in some dramatic novel way, just the basics. The guilt, the pressure, Kevin acting like he's my third-grade gym coach. My mom acting like choosing one parent was the same as abandoning the other. After I had sent, I expected her to give some generic adult response like, "It'll get better." Or try to see their perspective. Instead, she wrote, "You're a kid dealing with adult emotions. That's not fair to you. And it's not your job to manage everyone else's feelings." That sentence hit harder than I expected. Because no one had ever said that to me ever. I'd spent years being told how my decisions affected them, how I needed to keep the peace, how I was responsible for how they felt. But Ashley? She actually said the exact opposite. A few minutes later, my dad texted asking where I was. I didn't respond for a while because I didn't want him coming straight over and making everything worse. But eventually, I told him. He came to pick me up. No lecture, no annoyed sigh. No, you should have handled it differently. He just drove quietly until I was ready to talk. And when I did, he listened. Later that week, things got even more complicated. My mom showed up at my dad's house unannounced. She rang the doorbell like she was the police. I was inside playing video games with Ashley. Well, playing is generous. She was wiping the floor with me in Mario Kart. The second my mom saw Ashley through the doorway, her whole face twisted. Not angry, hurt, deeply, almost painfully hurt. She looked at me like she didn't even recognize me. "Can we talk?" she said. But her eyes were on Ashley, not me. Ashley stood up immediately and said, "Of course. I'll give you both some space." And she walked out the back door without another word. No defensiveness. No attitude. Just respect. My mom stepped inside, arms crossed tight. "I feel like I'm losing you," she said quietly. It wasn't a guilt trip this time. It sounded real, raw. I told her honestly, "You're not losing me. But you're making it really hard to be around you when everything becomes a competition." She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she whispered, "I just don't want her replacing me." And for the first time, I actually understood where she was coming from. Not that she was right, but that she was scared. Really scared. I told her, "No one can replace you. But someone else can treat me better." And that's not my fault. That hit her. I could see it. She didn't apologize. My mom rarely does, but she did not, and for her, that was pretty close. She left a few minutes later. Not angry this time. Just thinking. After she was gone, Ashley came back inside holding the sodas. She handed me one like nothing had happened and said, "So, rematch." And somehow, that small thing, the way she didn't make it about her, didn't ask a million questions, didn't make me feel worse, made me realize something huge. For the first time since the divorce, I felt like I had an adult in my life who wasn't trying to fix me, change me, or guilt me. Just be there. And honestly, that felt more like family than anything I'd had in years. Story to my parents skipped my college graduation to attend my sister's new boyfriend's birthday. They texted, "We'll celebrate later." I posted photos from the private ceremony. Me signing a $12 million contract with my tech investors that night. My dad called 47 times. Chapter 1, The Empty Row. I remembered two things from my Stanford graduation. The roar of the crowd and the silence of two empty chairs in the front row, with my parents' names on them. Everyone else had families holding flowers, banners, cameras, moms crying, dads shouting their kids' names. My chair empty. That morning at 9:12 a.m., just before line-up, my phone buzzed up. "Mom, honey, we can't make it. Emily's boyfriend's birthday is today. We'll celebrate later." They had known him for 12 days. They had known me for 22 years. I didn't reply. I didn't argue. I just slid my phone away and walked across that stage alone. When they called my name, valedictorian, honors, research distinction, people in the audience cheered for their kids. My section clapped for me, but my row stayed quiet. And something inside me clicked. Not anger, not sadness, something sharper. Stop waiting for people who never choose you. I didn't stay for photos. I didn't join the celebrations. Instead, I walked straight across campus to a private conference room. Waiting for me were 3 investors. They had reviewed my AI model weeks earlier. An infrastructure engine I coded alone in the dorm at 3 a.m. At 12:45 p.m., I signed a $12 million seed round contract. One investor looked at the empty chairs behind me and asked, "Your family not coming?" I gave a small smile. "They're busy." He nodded carefully and said something that became the fuel for everything that followed. "Then build a life so loud they can't ignore you again." I took a photo of me signing the contract, the $12 million clearly visible, and posted it online with, "Not all celebrations need an audience." I didn't tag my parents. I didn't need to. That night, my dad called 47 times, and for the first time in my life, I let it ring. Chapter 2: The 10-Year Rebuild. The night my dad called 47 times, I didn't answer a single ring. Not out of spite, but because something inside me had finally settled. If they only show up when you succeed, they were never with you to begin with. So I packed a backpack, grabbed my laptop, and walked away from the life where I was always second place. No explanations, no guilt trips, no more begging for attention. Just freedom. The warehouse years. I rented a tiny warehouse in San Jose. Concrete floors, one folding table, a mattress on the ground, and a broken lamp flickering like a dying star. To anyone else, it looked like failure. To me, it looked like a fresh start. Days became nights. Nights became weeks. I lived on instant noodles and black coffee, writing code until my eyes burned. Arcros, my AI infrastructure engine, grew line by line. Investors ignored me at first. Friends moved on. My family, not a single message beyond the initial guilt. But the silence became fuel. The breakthrough, 9 months later, after 19 a.m., RO solved a routing problem that had taken big tech firms years to crack. I stared at the monitor, exhausted and shaking. It worked. All the loneliness, the silence, the empty chairs, they finally meant something. One professor visited the warehouse after I emailed him a demo. He walked around slowly, hands on his hips, eyes wide. "This isn't a project," he whispered. "This is the future." By month 12, venture firms stopped laughing. By month 14, they started calling. By month 18, 3 investors were fighting to sign me the contract they never saw. Exactly 1 year after my parents skipped my graduation, I sat at a polished conference table in downtown Palo Alto. For partners, 2 lawyers, and a contract worth $12 million. Same number, different world. As I signed, I remembered that empty chair at graduation. And for the first time, it didn't hurt. It motivated. The post that started everything. I took one photo. Me signing the deal. Caption: built from silence. That night, my father called again. Not 47 times this time, but just once. Longer, deeper, more desperate. I didn't pick up because I was no longer the boy in the empty row. I was a man building the empire they never believed I could. Chapter 3: The interview she never saw coming. 3 years after the contract, ROS wasn't just a project anymore. It was a company, a real one. Glass offices, 2 floors, a team of 30. A conference room with my name etched on the frosted door. Daniel Hayes, founder and CEO. The boy they ignored had grown into the man they couldn't reach. But fate wasn't done. Not even close. The resume that froze me. One Monday morning, my HR director knocked on my door holding a tablet. "Daniel, you need to see this." I expected a lawsuit or a poaching attempt or a bad review online. But instead she handed me the tablet silently. On the screen, applicant Emily Carter, client relations role. My sister, the same sister whose boyfriend's birthday was more important than my graduation. The same sister my parents protected like she was made of glass. The same sister who never once called me after I disappeared. I stared at the resume. Experience exaggerated. Skills copied from Google searches references. My brother Daniel Hayes, Stanford graduate. Interesting. Now she remembered. HR swallowed. Should I reject her? I shook my head. No. Schedule the interview with me. The walk-in. The next morning at 10:03 a.m., she entered the conference room. She didn't recognize me. Not at first. She sat down like she owned the room, confident, rehearsed, entitled. "Hi. I'm Emily," she said brightly. "I heard ROS is doing big things. I thought maybe I could help. Funny word, I kept my tone neutral. Tell me why you want this job." She launched into her performance. "My boyfriend left me. I need stability. Mom and Dad are struggling. I've always supported Daniel. And now I'm hoping he'll support me, too." I raised an eyebrow. "You supported him?" She didn't flinch. "Yes, always." Then she laughed lightly and added, "I mean, he wouldn't be where he is without the family, right?" That was the moment she finally looked up and really saw my face. Her smile died instantly. "Danny, I leaned back. It's Daniel now. Her mouth fell open. You're the CEO. You built this place. Why didn't you tell us? My jaw tightened. I did tell you 4 years ago. It was called graduation. She looked away, shame flickering in her eyes. I didn't think you'd take it personally. Oh, I didn't, I said calmly. I took it seriously. The mirror moment. She tried again, softer this time. Danny, I made mistakes. But we're family. Family helps each other. I slid her resume back across the table. Emily, you're smart enough to know why you're here today. She said nothing. You didn't come because you believe in arrows. You came because you think I'm your safety net. Her voice cracked. I'm trying to fix things. I stood and opened the door. You're not ready to fix anything. Not yet. Her eyes filled. So? Is this a no? I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I didn't punish. I simply said, we're looking for someone with loyalty, and stepped out, leaving her staring at the empty chair, the same way I once stared at mine. Chapter 4, the day she returned with empty hands. Emily didn't leave the building right away. Security later told me she sat in the lobby for nearly an hour, hands shaking, staring at her resume. The confidence drained from her face. But that was only the beginning, because 2 days later my parents showed up. The unexpected. Knocked out. It was Thursday morning when my head of security buzzed in. Daniel, your parents are at the front desk. My stomach didn't drop. My heartbeat didn't change. I just felt ready. I walked toward the glass lobby where they stood together. My mother clutching her purse, my father wringing his hands. Both dressed nicer than I'd seen them in years, and for the first time in my life. There was no authority in their eyes, only fear. Danny, Mom whispered, voice trembling. We need to talk. I didn't invite them to my office. I didn't give them comfort. I simply asked, what do you need? The real reason they came. Dad stepped forward. It's your sister, he said. She's struggling. Mom nodded quickly. She can't find a job, she's broke. Her boyfriend left. She's living back home. And I asked quietly. They flinched at the simplicity of the question. We want you to help her. Mom said, you're successful. You have resources. We're family. Family, interesting choice of word. I folded my arms. You skipped my graduation for her boyfriend's birthday. You missed every milestone I ever had. And now you want me to rescue her. Dad swallowed hard. We made mistakes, he whispered. We thought you didn't need us. That sentence hit deeper than any insult ever had because it was the truth. My parents didn't show up for me, not because they didn't care, but because they assumed I'd survive without them. And ironically, they were right. But they had forgotten something. Just because someone can survive alone doesn't mean they should have to. The breaking point. Mom stepped forward, tears welling. Danny, we're not here for money. We're here because we're scared. I stared at them, searching for manipulation. There was none. Just parents who finally understood what their absence had caused. Dad spoke quietly. You built something incredible, and now we're on the outside. I didn't say anything. Mom choked on her words. We just want a chance to make things right. I sighed. You're not being punished. I said, you're experiencing consequences. Dad nodded slowly, like a man finally realizing the weight of his own actions. So, will you help Emily? He asked. I paused, then answered without emotion. No. But I'll help someone else. Their eyes narrowed in confusion. You'll understand soon, I said, and I turned away, leaving them standing in the lobby exactly where they had left me years ago, in an empty row. Chapter 5. The boy in the lobby. 2 weeks passed without another word from my parents or my sister. Ours was growing. We had just signed our biggest client yet. Investors were calling. My schedule was packed. I wasn't thinking about family. I wasn't thinking about the past until one rainy afternoon. My receptionist buzzed in with a shaky voice. Daniel, you should come to the lobby. It's your sister, and she's not alone. My chest tightened, not with fear, but with a strange sense of inevitability. I headed down, the girl in shattered shoes. Emily stood near the glass doors, soaked from the rain, hugging her arms tightly. But it wasn't her that stopped me in my tracks. It was a little girl standing beside her. Maybe 6 years old, brown hair, small backpack, shoes worn down at the heels. Eyes tired in a way no child's eyes should ever be tired. Emily's daughter, my niece, a niece I didn't even know existed. The child looked up at me with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Emily looked like someone who had been scraped down to her last ounce of pride. Danny, she whispered, voice cracking. I didn't know where else to go. The truth comes out. We sat in a small side room. Emily's daughter, Mia, held a juice box one of the receptionists gave her. She sipped quietly, watching everything. Emily wiped her eyes. Her father left, she said. No money, no support. I lost my job. Lost my apartment. Mom and Dad are drowning, too. She swallowed hard. I know you're angry. I know I don't deserve anything from you. But Mia does. The little girl looked up, eyes wide and unsure. I'm not here for me, Emily whispered. I'm here because she hasn't eaten properly in 2 days. That hit me harder than any betrayal ever had. This wasn't about family hierarchy. This wasn't about old wounds. This was about a child. A child who didn't choose any of this. The shift inside me. I knelt down in front of Mia. Hey, I said softly. What's your favorite food? She hesitated. Mac and cheese, I stood and called out. Carrie, get her some lunch, anything she wants. In warm clothes. She's freezing. Mia's face lit up like someone switched her childhood back on. Emily watched the scene unfold, shaking, guilt flooding her expression. I'm not asking you to fix my life, she whispered. Just help her. I can take the pain. But she shouldn't have to for the first time. My sister wasn't the golden child. She wasn't entitled. She wasn't demanding. She was a mother. A desperate one. And that changes everything. What I said next, I looked her in the eye, calmer than I'd ever been around her. I'm not helping you, I said quietly. Emily didn't argue. She nodded slowly, accepted it. But I continued, I will help Mia. Her head jerked up. Not because we're family, not because you deserve it, but because she deserves a chance at a life better than this. Emily burst into tears. The silent kind that comes from true remorse. Thank you, she whispered. You don't know what this means. But I did because for the first time, I finally understood something. My parents didn't break me. Emily didn't break me. They shaped me. And I built myself around the empty spaces they left. Helping Mia wasn't mercy. It was breaking the cycle. Final chapter. The finish line they never saw. Helping Mia didn't reopen old wounds. It closed them quietly, permanently. Because some cycles end not with anger, but with clarity. 6 months later, Emily entered a workforce training program I funded anonymously. Mia started after-school care paid through an Arcos community initiative. My parents stayed distant, not out of resentment, but out of respect for the first time. Nobody pushed, nobody demanded, nobody begged. They all gave me something I had waited 20 years for, a space. And in that space, my life grew. ROs expanded into 3 states. We acquired a smaller AI firm. I was invited to speak on panels, podcasts, interviews. My life was finally mine. But the real moment, the moment that rewrote everything, came on a crisp October morning. The marathon 10 years earlier, I had been the boy whose parents didn't show up for his biggest day. Now, I was running the San Francisco Tech Philanthropy Marathon, an event I sponsored to raise funds for kids like Mia. Thousands lined the streets, cheering, clapping, calling my name. My RO's team ran beside me. Supporters held signs. The finish line was a sea of flashing cameras. But it was the 2 faces behind the barrier that stopped me mid-stride. My parents not waving, not yelling, not demanding attention, just standing there quietly. Hands clasped, eyes full of something I had never seen from them. Regret, pride, humility. Mom gave a tiny, tentative wave, the kind a stranger gives when they don't want to intrude. Dad mouthed, we're proud of you, not loudly, not for show, just for me. And for the first time, it didn't hurt anymore. It didn't sting. It didn't feel hollow. It simply felt done. The finish line, I crossed the line as flashbulbs exploded. My team lifted me up. Volunteers cheered. Journalists rushed in. But all I saw was Mia sitting on Emily's shoulders, tiny hands waving wildly, smiling bigger than the sun itself. Go, Uncle Danny, she shouted. My chest tightened. Not with pain, but with a kind of healing I didn't know I needed. Emily approached slowly, hesitant. You did amazing, she said softly. I nodded. You're doing amazing, too. Behind her, my parents stood still. To people watching a life they once underestimated, finally understanding they were no longer needed to complete it. They weren't the villains of my story anymore. They were just people, flawed, human, learning too late. And that was enough. The true victory. Later that night, after the marathon celebration quieted, I sat alone overlooking the bay. The metal around my neck felt light. My phone buzzed once, a message from Mom. We're working on ourselves and we'll wait as long as it takes. No guilt, no pressure, just acceptance. I didn't reply. Not out of anger, but because some doors should open slowly and some should stay just a crack open until both sides are ready. But one thing was clear. I was no longer the boy sitting in the empty row at graduation. I was the man crossing finish lines alone. Stronger, quieter, smarter, and completely whole, because real revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's becoming someone they can never break, never diminish, and never define again. That day, under the California sun, I finally understood something. The finish line wasn't where the pain ended. It was where my life finally began. Was this revenge perfectly justified, or should the storm have raged harder? Drop your verdict below. I read every single one. Hit like if you crave justice and share this story with someone who needs its fire.